Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
Yeah, so today we're taking the sources you sent in, listener, and we're really trying to pull out the key insights.
The best nuggets, as you say.
Exactly. And the topic is, well, it's something I think so many of us grapple with.
Well, absolutely. How to actually feel, in control.
Yes, how to cut through all the noise, the chaos, and get to that place of, well, a stress-free productivity. That's the promise.
And we're using excerpts from David Allen's Getting Things Done, GTD, as our guide, based on what you provided.
Right, a really influential book. And our mission here is to unpack the methodology he lays out.
To really get a handle on the core principles, the practices, the things that can actually help you manage all the commitments, the information.
Because feeling overwhelmed, it seems like the default state these days, doesn't it?
It really does. Just the sheer amount of input, emails, messages, meetings, ideas popping into your head.
It's constant. And those traditional to-do lists, they often just fall short.
They do. They don't handle the complexity. This approach, though, it offers a specific system, a way to get clarity.
Okay, let's dive into that. Where does that feeling, that constant sense of being overwhelmed, actually come from, according to this material?
Well, fundamentally, it comes down to having too much stuff rattling around in your head.
Okay.
The book calls them open loops or incompletes. Basically, anything that's hooked your attention, but you haven't decided what it means or what the very next step is.
Right, like remembering you need milk or that big project proposal, or even just a stray thought about a vacation idea. They all take up space.
Exactly. And the core idea here is that your mind is actually pretty terrible at holding all that stuff reliably. It's great for having ideas, for creativity.
But not for being a filing cabinet.
Precisely. Trying to use it like that just drains your energy, causes stress, anxiety. It leads to that too much to-do syndrome the book talks about.
And then you just end up reacting, right?
Yeah.
Putting out fires, dealing with whatever seems loudest.
That's it. The reactive mode takes over because your brain is busy trying not to forget things. Alan puts it really well. If something's on your mind, it's because you haven't fully processed it.
Processed how?
You haven't clarified the outcome you want or decided the very next physical action or put a reminder in a system you actually trust.
A trusted system. That sounds key.
It is. The quote is something like, if it's on your mind isn't clear. Simple, but profound.
And while this isn't a new problem, the modern world just pours gasoline on the fire, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The speed, the volume, the multiple devices.
Yeah.
It just exacerbates the whole thing. But the underlying principles, they apply whether you're 12 or 62.
So that's the problem. The overwhelm, the mental clutter. What's the promised land here? What does GTD offer instead?
The goal is achieving this state of, well, relaxed control. Clear mental space, being fully present.
Okay.
The book uses this great metaphor, mind like water.
Mind like water. Explain that.
Think of a calm pond. You throw a pebble in, it ripples appropriately to the size of the pebble, and then it settles right back down.
Ah, so it responds appropriately to the input, but doesn't stay disturbed.
Exactly. It doesn't overreact or underreact. It allows for what Alan calls appropriate engagement, making the best choice in the moment about what to do.
Without being nagged by all the other things you aren't doing.
Precisely. And dedicating your full attention to whatever you are doing. It's not just about cramming more tasks in,
Right, the text emphasizes it's not just productivity in that kind of relentless corporate sense. It's about clarity.
Yeah.
Psychological space.
That's the real prize. Feeling in control, less stressed, more present.
Okay, I'm sold on the destination. How do we get there? The book lays out a specific workflow, right? 5 steps.
That's the core. 5 distinct stages for managing your stuff. Capture, clarify, organize, reflect, and engage.
And you have to do them in order or separately.
Separately is the key insight. Trying to, say, capture and organize and decide all at once. That's where people often trip up. They're distinct activities.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay, let's walk through them. Step 1, capture. What's involved?
Capture is purely about corralling everything that has your attention. Everything. Big, small, work, personal, doesn't matter. Get it out of your head.
So like a massive brain dump.
Pretty much. Into designated collection tools, a physical inbox, maybe an email inbox you process, a notes app, a voice recorder, whatever works for you.
And it mentions tools like an incompletion triggers list.
Yeah, that's a great prompt list. It helps you systematically scan all areas of your life, projects, commitments, finances, health, family, calls to make, things waiting for to really ensure you surface everything that's been lurking in the corners of your mind.
The crucial thing here sounds like just capturing. No deciding, no organizing yet.
Absolutely critical. Don't filter, don't analyze. Just get it into your in-basket, whatever form that takes. It might feel a bit overwhelming at first to see it all.
But you need to know the scope.
You need to know what you're dealing with. So just capture.
Okay. Step 1, capture. Step 2, clarify. This feels like where the thinking kicks in.
It is. Clarify is processing everything you just captured.
Hmm.
You take one item at a time, starting from the top of your inbox. And the rule is never put anything back into in.
Okay. One-way street.
Right. And for each item, you ask the fundamental question, is this actionable?
Actionable or not actionable? Binary choice.
Exactly. Let's take the no action required path first. If it's not actionable, the book gives you 3 choices.
Which are?
Trash it if it's genuinely junk or maybe an old commitment you're consciously dropping. That's okay too.
Feels good to just delete sometimes.
It does. Second option is incubate it. This is for things you might want to do later, but not now, or things you need a reminder for on a specific future date.
Like someday maybe ideas.
Exactly. Or putting something in a tickler system. Third option, file it as reference material if it's information you might need later.
And just deciding no action is a valid outcome.
A very valid and often freeing outcome. It removes the ambiguity. Okay, now, what if the answer is yes, it is actionable?
Okay, what then?
Then you need to do 2 key things. First, define the desired outcome. What does done look like? If it takes more than one step to get there, the book calls it a project.
Right. A project isn't necessarily huge, just multi-step.
Correct. Second, and this is absolutely vital, you decide the very next physical action required to move it forward.
Physical action. You stressed that earlier. So not figure out budget, but
More like draft email to finance asking for last year's numbers, or call Bob to discuss budget input, something concrete, visible. It forces clarity.
okay, outcome defined, next physical action defined. Then what?
Then you make one more decision about that next action. Do it, delegate it, or defer it.
The 3 Ds.
The 3 Ds. If the action takes less than 2 minutes,
Now,
do it right then and there. That's the famous
right.
2-minute rule. It's amazing how much friction that removes for small tasks you encounter while clarifying.
gee, if it takes longer than 2 minutes.
Then you ask, am I the right person? If not, delegate it. Hand it off.
And if it takes longer and you are the right person,
Then you defer it. You decide you'll do it later. And that leads us neatly into step 3.
which is organize, putting all this stuff you've clarified into the right places.
Exactly. Organize is about creating your trusted system, putting reminders and materials into the appropriate buckets so that, as the book says, where something is matches what it means to you.
And keeping actionable and non-actionable stuff separate.
Crucial. If your to-do list is cluttered with reference material or someday ideas, you'll stop trusting it. So, organizing the non-actionable, trash is easy. Reference.
Is a system.
A simple, fast, easy-to-use filing system, physical and digital. Alan advocates a single AZ system for general reference. Keep it simple so you actually use it.
Okay. And the incubate stuff.
That goes on to specific lists, like someday maybe, lists great for capturing those creative sparks or future possibilities without commitment pressure. Books to read, places to go, skills to learn.
Keeps them out of your active system, but doesn't lose them.
Right. Or it goes into a tickler file system, often 43 folders, one for each month and day, designed to surface a reminder automatically on a specific future date.
Okay. That covers non-actionable. Now, organizing the actionable stuff, the delegated and deferred items.
Right. The do-it items were done already. Delegated items, the things you've asked someone else to do.
Track them somewhere.
Yes, if you need to ensure they happen, you put them on a waiting for list, so you don't forget to follow up later. Very important.
Makes sense. And the deferred items, the things you need to do later that take more than 2 minutes.
Those go in one of 2 places, either the calendar or your next actions lists.
What's the difference? When does something go on the calendar?
This is a really key distinction in GTD. The calendar is only for things that have to happen on a specific day or at a specific time.
Appointments, deadlines,
Yeah.
the hard landscape.
Exactly. Date-specific or time-specific commitments. The book strongly advises against using your calendar as a general daily to-do list that just clutters it and makes it less useful for its real purpose.
So where do all the other actions go? The ones you need to do, but not on a specific day.
They go onto your next actions lists, and
Yeah.
these are typically organized by context.
Context like location, or tool.
Yeah, exactly. The tool, place, or person needed to do the action. So you might have lists like at computer, at phone, at office, at home, at errands, at agenda, Sarah.
Ah, so when you're at your computer, you can just look at the at computer list and see relevant tasks.
Precisely. It makes your list much more useful in the moment. The granularity, how many lists you need, depends on your workflow.
What about project materials, like background documents?
That's project support material. It gets filed away, maybe linked to the project, but it's not the reminder to take action. The action reminder lives on your next actions list or calendar.
Got it. And there's also a projects list.
Yes, this is crucial. It's simply a master list of all the outcomes you're committed to finishing that require more than one step.
So it's an index of all your projects.
Exactly. It's not a list of actions. Its main purpose is for review to look at it regularly and make sure every single project on that list has at least one next action defined and waiting on one of your active lists or calendar.
To ensure nothing stalls out.
It keeps everything moving forward.
Okay, that's a lot of organizing. Capture, clarify, organize. What keeps this whole system from just falling apart after a week?
That brings us to step 4. Reflect. This is the glue that holds it all together. It's about regularly looking at your system to keep it clean, current, complete, and functional.
Because if you don't trust it, your brain will just take back the job of worrying about everything.
You got it. Your mind needs proof that the system is reliable. And the cornerstone of Reflect, the absolute non-negotiable habit, according to the book, is the weekly review.
The weekly review, what does that involve?
It's dedicated time, usually an hour or two, set aside each week. The goals are threefold. Get clear, process any remaining inputs, empty your head again. Get current, review all your lists. Calendar, next actions, projects, waiting for, someday maybe. Mark things done, update things, make sure it reflects reality. And get creative, maybe brainstorm on projects or look at higher level goals.
Wow, that sounds like a serious tune-up for your life and work.
It really is. It's where you catch anything that slipped through, update your commitments, regain that mind like water feeling, and orient yourself for the week ahead. It's incredibly powerful. The sources really emphasize making this happen consistently.
Okay, that makes sense why it's so critical.
Yeah.
So, capture, clarify, organize, reflect. The final step is engage.
Engage. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's about making trusted choices about what you actually do moment by moment.
Because you have this reliable system backing you up.
Exactly. You're not just reacting anymore. The book talks about 3 kinds of work you might engage in. Doing your predefined work, stuff on your list's calendar, doing work as it shows up, unplanned stuff, and defining your work, processing new inputs, doing the clarify, organize steps.
And the system helps you choose consciously between those.
Yes. Based on your context, where are you? What tools do you have? Time available, energy level, and priorities, you can look at your options, your lists, and make an informed, intuitive choice about the best thing to do right now.
So intuition still plays a role, but it's an informed intuition.
Beautifully put. Your intuition works much better when it's operating on the complete picture of your commitments, which the system provides, rather than just vague anxiety.
And it helps you shift focus cleanly without worrying you're dropping other balls.
Right, because you know the other balls are safely tracked in your system.
Now, the material also talks about planning and different horizons of focus. How do they fit in? Is planning separate from the 5 steps?
Planning is kind of woven into the process, especially clarify and organize when you're defining projects and next actions. But there's also more focused planning. The book distinguishes horizontal focus, managing the day-to-day actions across all your commitments.
That's what the lists and calendar handle.
Right. And vertical focus, which is when you need to drill down and think more deeply about a specific project or situation.
And for that vertical focus, there's a specific model mentioned.
Yes, the natural planning model. It basically mirrors how our brains naturally plan things effectively when we're not stressed. It's got 5 phases.
Okay, what are they?
1, define purpose. Why are you doing this? What's the core reason? 2, envision outcome. What does success look like, feel like? Get specific. 3, brainstorm. Generate all the ideas, steps, possibilities related to it. No judgment yet, just get it all out.
Like a mind map or just a list?
Could be either. 4, organize. Structure those brainstormed ideas. Group things, identify sequences, priorities. And 5, identify next actions. Based on the organized plan, what are the very next physical steps needed to get the ball rolling?
Starting with why, the purpose. Seems really powerful.
It is. It provides context and motivation. And the brainstorming before organizing prevents shutting down creative ideas too early. The key is you only need to plan enough to get the project under control in your head and identify that next action. It doesn't always have to be a massive plan.
Just enough to get it off your mind and onto your action list.
Precisely. Now, about those horizons of focus.
Right, the different altitudes.
Yeah, it's a way of looking at your commitments from different levels. Horizon 1 is your current projects list, the outcomes you're working on now.
Okay.
Horizon 2 is your areas of focus and accountability. These are the ongoing roles and standards in your life, like health, finances, family, career development, team management. They don't get done like projects, but they require attention and generate projects.
Reviewing those areas probably helps you realize, oh, I need a project for that.
Exactly. Then Horizon 3 is goals, things you want to achieve maybe in the next 1-2 years. Horizon 4 is vision longer term, 3 to 5 years out. And Horizon 5 is purpose and principles, the ultimate why behind everything, your core values.
And the idea is to review these periodically.
Yes, especially the higher horizons, maybe during the weekly review or dedicated planning sessions. It helps ensure your day-to-day actions, Horizon 1, are actually aligned with what's truly important to you at the higher levels, Horizons 2 to 5. It provides perspective and helps guide choices.
It connects the weeds to the big picture.
That's a good way to put it.
The source material also touches on some psychology, why this stuff actually works on our brains.
Right, it connects the practices to some underlying principles, like distributed cognition.
The idea that our brain isn't for holding information.
Yeah, it's for having ideas. The system acts as your external brain, your reliable external storage, freeing up mental bandwidth.
Makes sense. What else? Flow theory.
TTD seems to support getting into a state of flow. Flow needs clear goals, immediate feedback, and focus. GTD helps clarify outcomes, goals, lets you check things off, feedback, and gets all the distracting clutter out of your head so you can focus.
Interesting. Self-leadership and implementation intentions too.
Self-leadership involves using cues and rewards. The context lists act as cues. I'm at my computer, here are my at-computer tasks. And finishing tasks provides natural rewards. Implementation intentions are those if-then plans. If situation X arises, then I will do Y. Defining next actions by context naturally sets these up.
And finally, something called psychological capital, PsyCap.
Yeah, PsyCap involves things like self-efficacy, belief in your ability, hope, optimism, resilience. The book suggests GTD builds hope and self-efficacy because you're constantly defining clear outcomes and the very next step to get there. It makes things feel achievable.
So there's a solid why behind the what, but the sources are clear. This isn't magic, it's a practice.
Absolutely. It's described as a path of mastery. You have to build the habits. People fall off the wagon. They resist clarifying next actions sometimes. They skip the weekly review.
That weekly review seems like the easiest thing to let slide, but maybe the most costly.
It really is often the linchpin. Maturity in the system, according to the book, means you do have a complete inventory. You trust your system. You use it instinctively to handle anything that comes your way, good or bad.
And when you reach that point where you trust you can capture and process anything,
it gives you tremendous freedom. Freedom to engage with ideas, opportunities. Because you're not afraid you'll lose track of them or get overwhelmed by them.
This has been incredibly clarifying, really unpacking the core of GTD from these excerpts.
It covers the whole journey, doesn't it? From the pain of overwhelm to the promise of clarity, the practical steps, the bigger picture planning, and even why it clicks with our psychology.
Yes. So thank you again, listener, for providing the sources that let us do this deep dive.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought for you to chew on based on all this. What could you really achieve? What higher level thinking or creativity could you unlock if your mind was truly free, completely present, knowing with confidence that everything else is handled by a system you trust implicitly? What might open up?